Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Volen in Pursuit of Art. We're on the third video now. Um, I'm recording this actually about a week after I've done the other two. So if I end up saying some of that same stuff, I'm sorry about that. If I say everything that I've said in one of the other videos, if you can please let me know. I think I'll have something wrong with my brain then. One thing I'm going to show you today though, guys, is I'm going to show you where I make the videos from. Some people have told me I should probably do that, and where the videos come from is actually just from here, and from the head, and you also get to see the front part of my head, which is the face, and I'm gonna speak from here, but you also get to see all the other parts around it too. So some people wanted to see that, so anyway, yesterday I shared one of the videos to a few websites and stuff, and I got a lot of positive feedback, and I'm really happy about that. But one thing it makes me realize is that people can't actually find anything I make, which is something I've known already, but I sort of, I've just left it as unfindable and sort of okay. But I want to ask you guys, if you find these helpful, please share them, because there's someone out there, meaning if people like them, obviously there's something that they find that they need and it helps them. So if you're on websites, if you're on forums, if you're on DeviantArt or wherever, if it's helpful to you, if you think it's going to be helpful to someone else, please share them. I just don't have the time. I have to run the website, I have the blog to write, I have my own studies, I have the Facebook page, I have to go to work, I have to make videos for YouTube. So lots of stuff, and I just don't have the time to be on everywhere. So if you could, please share them. You'll help me, you'll help someone else. You'll be a great guy. I'll give you a coin. This is about the 5th time I'm trying to record this now. Just thought I'd let you know. So last time we stopped at this master study that I was doing. And for this one I was really trying to figure out what to talk about, because there's just so many things that I came up with. And I think that's why I'm recording this for the actually 8th time. It's because there's just so many different things. I've been trying to look for a pattern and basically see what's the overall picture, like what's the recipe sort of for improvement. And one thing I can see is that every 6 months there's like a huge leap that's happened. It doesn't come until like the 4th or 5th month that you can sort of see like something's happening, and then by the 6th month it's just there. So for the first 6 months it was like going from nothing, from zero, to being able to copy. Not everything, but being able to reproduce. If I spent the time being able to reproduce. The next 6 months were being able to reproduce, but while being able to think about how to organize the picture, how to compose the different elements, and how to get more complex stuff in there, like texture and details and stuff like that, in a more organized way. And then now, the 6 months of this year has been imagination. So imagination has been like the worst thing for me. And then I can see it now, and it just came to me today, like it's the 5th month, and just yesterday stuff was just like clicking. Not that it's great, but I can definitely see that some things that I couldn't at all do, they're now automatic, or not to the degree that I need them to be, but they're getting to be there. So every 6 months this thing happens. And what I found that happens is that anytime you're doing anything, anytime you're learning, it doesn't matter even if it's art or if it's anything at all, anytime you're doing something, you're in one of two phases. So you either have trying out a new thing, so you're familiarizing yourself, experimenting, trying that thing out. It's like if you bought rollerblades, or if you bought like a skateboard. First time you get on it, you're just trying it out, like your brain's just feeling it out, like, ooh, what does this thing feel like? How do I put my legs on it so I don't fall right away? Like, you're not actually riding it, you're just trying it out. And then the next phase is pushing boundaries. That's development. So after you've been on the skateboard for a bit, after you've tried out all kinds of stuff, just standing on it, just moving very slowly and stuff, then you start pushing boundaries. Well, how can I go faster? Like, how can I jump? How can I do that? And then once you jump, then you go back to the first phase again. So these phases are constantly repeating all the time. And each time you level up, each time you get to be able to do something new, you go back to experimentation and development. And this process goes on and on. There was like a quote from Hokusai, however you say his name, and he said he was a painter in Japan, and he said that everything he had done by the age of, I think, 50 or 50 something, I think maybe even 70, all the things he had done until then are not worth mentioning. And by the time he got to be about 100 something, then you'll do something worthwhile. It's a great quote. I suck. So, I want to show you guys another thing I found, and maybe I should save this for another time so I get too much information, but basically your improvement and your studying is going to be just like the layers of a painting. So if you picture like a traditional painting where you start first with establishing values, then you put color on top, and then you detail things out. So if you picture it in this way, I found that that's exactly what I've been doing. Like, you building your painting skills is like you building a single painting. It's the same process. So if you look at this, this is exactly that. It's massing the shapes, establishing the values. That's all it is. That's the core, that's the meaning of this study. Not that I've known it at that time, but that's what I've been doing, is massing the values, establishing the shapes. Once you've done that, once you're comfortable with values, then you put the color on top. And this is exactly what I've been doing after that. So once I'm comfortable with darks and lights, being able to sort of identify the areas, being able to put them in the right place, then you put color on top of that. And then once you're done with that, then you put detail on top. And I just saw this today because, and I'm just going to start running you through the next few months, is because I saw this. And when I looked at it, and this is the original reference, basically all that's missing from it is just the texture. So I'm familiar with values, right? I've experimented with values, I've experimented with color, I'm still experimenting with color, I've pushed boundaries on value, and now when I get to the next phase of pushing boundaries in color, then I'll be able to put the texture in. So if you just look at it, if you look at everything that's missing is exactly just the texture, right? It's the painting, values are in the right place, they're masked, color is on top of it, but the details are missing. And that's basically what I'm going to be working on for the next few months, is pushing boundaries in color, and I'm going to show you guys pretty much how it happens. I mean, it's really cool when you can actually see a process like that, because you can deconstruct it, and hopefully it'll help you guys with your own process. Okay, so let's get started now. We left off here. So all the color studies and everything else that I'm doing at this moment that I'm not knowing about is just experimenting with color, just learning to drive, just learning to get on the skateboard, learning to ride, learning to just stay on it, just experimenting. And pushing boundaries is going to come in about a month or two. So really, anytime you start something, first month or two, experimenting with almost everything. Next few months, pushing boundaries. After 6 months, level up. You're ready for the next one. So let's have a look now. One more thing, I promise, last thing, is what I noticed is that also there's an unseen component. So you have the values, right? You have the color on top of that. We just talked about that. The missing thing that you don't actually see though is like the line work, the drawing, the accurate positioning of shapes if you're copying something. And this is something that you don't see, and I think a lot of people probably struggle with the idea of just doing things on the fly, you know, not measuring sort of, but when you're sketching, just sort of, you know, and you just get it all out completely accurate and perfect, because some people do that. Pros do that. People that have done this process of experimenting and pushing boundaries over and over and over. When we do that, it's normally disastrous. You can see it in this pretty lady. This pretty lady, basically the only reason why she exists as a study is because I messed her up so badly, and I was trying to figure out what, and you can see over here is me trying out to correct some, because I sketched her out here, and I wondered, why is this so terribly bad? Because, you know, I've pushed boundaries on value, I've done all that, how come all my stuff isn't great now? Well, because the unseen component underneath color, underneath value, that you don't even get to see has been present, is accurate drawing. So without the accurate drawing, you don't get to position everything in the right place. And this is only for copy drawing and copy painting, you know, when you're doing it, when you're trying to reproduce something. But the thing is, you know, when you're self-taught, when you're doing this thing on your own, when someone doesn't hand you the process, you always have the question in the back of your mind, am I doing this correctly? Because other people are doing it in a different way. And you want to adopt their mode of working, because obviously they have more experience than you, they're better than you, so you want to do things the way they do them. But don't be fooled though. If you were in a classroom somewhere and you were just trying to sketch out a portrait without first measuring or anything, your teacher should just come up to you and just slap you on the back of the head and just say, don't do that, silly. That's not the way you do it. But when you're on your own, there's no one to slap you. And if you slap yourself, that's not really going to help you, because you don't know why you slapped yourself. So be careful with that. Alright, so let's get going. Left off at the master study, and as you can see, experimenting with color. That's all that is. I don't know if I've shown you guys this one in the last one. This is one of my ones that I was really pleased with. Not an actual painting, just a study though, getting color shapes down. And since I'm not sure if I showed it to you guys or not, I'm going to move on. More experimenting, getting more comfortable now. Not about proportion, not about anything else, just working with color. And then this is the one I showed you guys. This is one of my first longer studies, and I'm going to actually talk about longer studies, I hope, in this video, because longer studies are like your exam for leveling up, for me at least. Anytime you want to move to the next level, you're going to have to do something that pretty much challenges everything you've done so far. So this for me was the first thing that's a whole scene, right? It's not just one object, just like one face, one jug, one whatever, one orange. It's a whole scene. So I have a lot of elements. I have a lot of things to work on. I'm not working at all on texture or anything like that. So like we said before, massing in the shapes, massing in the values, putting the colors on top, textures follow. So I'm not at that stage. This is just putting colors in the right place and really being happy when this was done, because, you know, stuff read. You could see what it is, and that was good enough. No texture or nothing. And everything I've done until that point is in the manner of, it's all done in one session. I never came back to something. Because again, everything you see everyone ever do is they do it as like a one-off thing. By the way, that's probably not completely true either. I mean, someone could record the video, like this one, over many days or many hours, and then it could just look seamless. So you could be seeing a process that takes like 50 hours, just like my master study, but it looks like it's been done in one sitting. So everything I've done so far is just one sitting. I'm going to shut up now and talk about other stuff. Pushing boundaries on value. So every time you do this, you're not just doing one thing, meaning you're experimenting with one thing. I'm experimenting with color. I'm pushing boundaries on value, but I'm doing that simultaneously. Like, I'm not just sticking to one thing and I'm just going to stay on the skateboard and go forward for the month, and then I'm going to go left for the next month. You do them together, and you push boundaries simultaneously. It keeps you entertained. It keeps you interested in the process. And it keeps you, because they're all interconnected things. If you were just trying them separately, then you'd get a disjointed result at the end. So just trying everything out. So after I've done value and color for some time, I'm realizing here, you know, the necessity for accurate drawing and for proportion. So I spent a good amount of time also working on my accuracy. So not just color, not just value, realizing the importance of the underlying unseen stuff. And at this point I was trying to do some portraits because they always came off pretty badly. So I'm trying now to develop a process of good results that I can get. Some are measured. Well, I hope every single one up to this point is measured. They come off okay, definitely when you compare it to like the oranges and stuff, an improvement. And this one, you can see, I just noticed it now, that's pushing a new boundary now. That's pushing the boundary now of getting texture into it. I'm not going to attempt it with color, but you can see value has been pushed from just generating, you know, the right shape, the right lightness, to then being able to model form, to finally getting texture in there. So big milestones, definitely, that I was not able to see at the time that I can notice now. And here we go with the accuracy studies. So once I've pushed value, right, I can work with value, then I need to work on accuracy as a thing that I'm pretty bad at. So then I started noticing that, and anytime you notice you're not doing great on something, that should be on your schedule. So I found these Asaro heads. They're called ASARO, Asaro. I think it's one S. And I found these, and they're very good for practicing accuracy because they have a lot of hard points. So basically you go and you get lots of corners instead of just trying to do a face where, you know, if it's like a baby face or a kid's face, then there's a lot of just smooth points. But with these, you get a lot of anchor points that you can measure. So it's very easy when you get corners. You can measure distances. You also measure diagonals. You measure, basically, it's just a lot of measurements. And of distances, of angles, of stuff like that. And the benefit of that is that, of course, the more you do it, the quicker you get. You are basically, anytime you're doing something, you are programming your brain to be able to do something new for you. So my brain is pretty bad at accuracy. My brain was bad at value, bad at color. I am teaching my brain to do new stuff for me. So getting lots of heads and just copying every single day, I do some of those for quite a while. And by the way, this isn't just these aren't just tiny little ones. They were big ones I shrank, so each one of those is, let's say, maybe half an hour or maybe more. Also did some casts just to learn to simplify form and stuff. If you guys haven't done that, or if you don't know about it, definitely a very useful thing. Most people draw, meaning most artists draw with straight lines only, and then mold those straight lines to go into curves by just adding more and more straight lines. I'm not gonna even make it through 1 month in this one, guys. This one, just trying out some figure studies. I do a lot of those. I just don't post anywhere. So if you guys haven't done me see those, I actually do those. I just don't post them anywhere. Trying to combine stuff now. Just huge boundary right there. Trying to combine everything I've learned so far with the accuracy, with color, with value. Trying to put it all together. Result isn't super impressive, but it's, you know, it's a work in progress. That's all that matters. I'm seeing now as I'm doing these, I'm seeing that I'm practicing the right things, and that's like the most important thing. It doesn't matter if you realize if you're doing the right thing or not. You just have to do the right thing. This is another one. I'm pushing value, definitely pushing value. Went from oranges in January to, you know, oranges all over this guy's body in May. So in a matter of a few months, you know, I told you guys about the 6 month thing. Wow. So I didn't know I'd done that. So every few months, every 6 months, you get a major improvement, and every 3 to 4 months, you're pretty much ready with one thing, and then you put together another few things, and at the end of the 6 months, you get like an exam. Which for me, if I don't manage to get there, for me, my exam was... Where are you, boy? My exam was this. So this was done in July. So July, 7 months. So since the start. So this was my exam for having learned accuracy, for having developed the process, for having experimented and pushed boundaries on color, and still no texture. When you look at this, exactly what I said before was missing. The final step, still not there. That's going to be the next boundary. But everything else, though, is put into place, and there's definitely thinking behind it. I mean, that's not just haphazard massing of stuff all together. There is process in that now. Process that's well developed. I'm going to keep going, guys, so I don't end up making 50 videos. I promised it was going to be 5. It's not going to be 5 videos. But imagination from time to time, definitely lagging very much behind everything else. But that's just because there's no practice there. This one was an alla prima, I called it, which basically meant I'm going to try and do this without any line drawing or anything. One of the first, so just sort of trying stuff out. Imagination, really terrible. Very stiff is my problem, is it's very stiff. But I'm doing it wrong, though. That's the problem, is I've developed a process for copying stuff. And with copying, I've already spoken about this, that, you know, you always have a point of reference where you can go back to. With imagination stuff, it's a different process. I haven't thought about it yet. I haven't figured it out. We are on June now, so 6 months at about this point. So at about this stage, this isn't any longer, even though it's again a value study, this isn't any longer a study of copying light and dark shapes. This is now trying out composition, trying to build space. So this is like using your tools now, using your vocabulary to build scenes instead of just trying to mindlessly copy, or just, most people don't like copying. I've noticed that, Facebook and everywhere, people always talk about you shouldn't just copy, you have to copy before you can do the rest of the stuff. Those people have either forgotten that it's been so long ago that they've done it, they've either forgotten the value of it, or they're just not really thinking about why people do it. You have to copy a lot before you can do anything on your own. So with this, I'm just copying how big shapes are. How do you create space? How do you do all that stuff? You can't possibly look at something, and if you don't have the skill set of the basic vocabulary, like putting shapes down in the right place, in the right shape, if you don't have that, you can't possibly go and you think about, yeah, I'm gonna make this castle into like gingerbread dragon layer. It's gonna put spaceships. You can't do that because don't know how to. So just doing composition studies. The composition studies and their space exploration, not like an astronaut, but just how do you create space? How do you do that? And you do loads of these. You do loads of these so you get familiar with how big shapes can be, and what does it mean, the size of a shape? What does that mean? And I'm doing them in color after I've done them in value. The exact same thing, just how big could an element be on the canvas to read as a particular size, is a particular thing, meaning how big can a figure be? Well, a figure could be, really, you could just have like an eye could just be here, like the iris, or you could also have just like a little dot. But until you do all those different possibilities, you can't sort of process through your head that if the eye is over here, then obviously the person is sort of right next to you. If they're over there, then you're very far away. It's just experimenting, because I know this sounds very simple, but I was stuck for a very long time on like, well, if I just want to have a tree branch coming here, I would actually think about, well, where's this tree coming from? How does that happen? And the fact is, like, the real truth is that it doesn't really matter. Like, if you want to have it in there, you can just put it in there. But if you think a lot about, well, where is the tree? Where are you in relationship to the tree? So you have like almost a top view of yourself standing somewhere with a tree, just getting into your field of view. If you do all that stuff, if you're not familiar with the infinite amount of possibilities of how elements can be arranged, you just get stuck into thinking about stuff that's not really relevant, and then you can't really progress with your work. So you need to just do so many copying studies, not because it's that important to copy, but because you need to learn to copy, and also you need to learn to see all the different, the billions of possibilities of arrangement of elements you need to copy. And I'm hung up on this because I just saw it this morning and I've seen it many times before. Don't listen to what people tell you, just do the right thing. This is June now, and this is gonna be the last few picks, and I'm gonna cut it off after this because it's gonna be a huge video again. But I wanted to show you these first because this is the 6 month. This is the 6 month leap now. So this is June, right? This is June, one of the first things done for June. So went from the oranges on the first video I showed you, no process, no understanding of color, never done it before, to now being able to position things in the right place, in the right shape, pick the right hue, the right lightness, and then replicate all that in a manner that's layered, in a smart way, not just haphazard, just have some color here, not have any there or whatever. Put everything in the right place, the right hue, the right everything organized and put in the right place, and you now start getting results. That's it. Like that's a painting, meaning that's all it takes. It is copying. There's nothing special about it, definitely, but it's special to someone that wasn't able to do that a few months ago. So for you guys that are just struggling with all that stuff, be on the lookout for the 6 month mark. And if it doesn't come in 6 months for you, just put more practice in. That's when it's gonna come. This one I was really happy with, not because of the way it looks, but because of how many things you can possibly show with so little. Like if you look at the little girl, it's not, all there is just really just a highlight. I know it's not in the right place, I know it's not the right shape, but that's not really the concern. The concern here is creating space, duplicating shapes, sometimes just seeing how much you can achieve with very little. So in this case, it's just a few tiny highlights, and yet you get to suggest 3 figures. And then you know that those are figures there, even though you can barely see anything about them, just because by association with these, you know those over there are gonna be little girls wearing little tutus, or whatever those are. So that's why copying is important. It will familiarize you with the billions of possibilities. It'll get to show you the diverse way of representing things, because these girls, if they were lit in a different way, it'd be a completely different arrangement of shapes, of lights, of darks, of everything. But in the way that they're done at the moment, very simple, just like a few shapes, almost flat colors, but at the same time so suggestive of what's actually going on. Alright, you guys, I think I'm going to record the next one now and cut this one off here. I hope you like it. Please remember to share it if it helped you, and best of luck. Any questions or anything else for me, just drop them in a comment or send me a message. Or, by the way, I'm going to shut up right after this, is please post stuff on my Facebook wall. Meaning people always tell me like, oh, I can't post stuff on your wall, I'm going to spam it. Well, my wall isn't actually my wall. You know, it's like a public thing. So if you're having trouble with keeping yourself accountable or not knowing what to do, just post it there, because then I'm looking. Like if you say, I'm going to do 10 studies this week, and you post it to someone that's going to read that, you can't not do the 10 studies. So if you are having trouble making yourself get to work, or if you don't have anyone to keep you accountable, just post it on there. I'll have a look. Alright guys, enough of me. See you later.